verbringen mit der Rebbe. A warte in a warte is de Eibischte du. A warte. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. 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 Fabringen mit de gevre, fabringen met de rebbe. A warte in a warte, in der Aie bist du. Fabringen mit de gevre, fabringen mit de rebbe. A warte in a warte, in der Aie bist du. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, mit de gevre fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, mit de rebbe fabrik. Vadde in a vadde in a vadde in a vadde fabrik. Vadde in a vadde in a vadde in a vadde fabrik. In a vadde 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 fabrik. In a vadde 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 fabrik. Fabrik. Ai 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 ai. Fabrik, fabrik, laat me naar de fabringen, fabringen wil, fabringen. Laat me naar de fabringen, fabrik, fabrik, oh jedelig fabrik, 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 met de gevre fabrik, gevre fabrik, oh jedelig fabrik, 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 met de rebbe fabrik. Der Rebbe du, de Gevre zijn du, jeder du, okay. Laat me verbringen. Verbringen mit de Gevre, verbringen mit de Rebbe. A wadde in a wadde is der Eibischte du. Verbringen mit de Gevre, verbringen mit de Rebbe. A wadde in a wadde is der Eibischte du. A wadde. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisroel elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. 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 Fabringen met de gevre, fabringen met de rebbe. A watte in a watte, in de aaie bist du. Fabringen met de gevre, fabringen met de rebbe. A watte in a watte, in de aaie bist du. Is er no oi reiso, bekitsho berichi Berichi. Fabrik, Fabrik, oh jeder Fabrik, 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 mit der Fabrik, 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 oh jeder Fabrik, 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 mit der Fabrik. Vader in a vader in a vader in a vader Fabrik. Vader in a vader in a vader in a vader Fabrik. In a vader 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 Fabrik. In a vader 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 Fabrik. Fabrik. Ay 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 ay. Ay ay ay. Fabrik, Fabrik. Laat me naar de Fabringen, Fabringen, Fabringen. Laat me naar de Fabringen, Fabrik, Fabrik. Oh jeder Fabrik, Fabrik, Fabrik. Met de Gebre Fabrik, Gebre Fabrik. Oh jeder Fabrik, Fabrik, Fabrik. Met de Gebre Fabrik. Dat is nice. De Rebbe doet, de Gebre zijn hem doet, jeder doet. Oké, laat me verbrengen.
You really live? 42 followers already.
You're live.
We're live.
All right,
You're live.
let's do it. David, put it on right now. Okay. Erev Tov, good evening, Chaverim. All right, Erev Tov, Chaverim. So we're gonna continue on the series of we're in the middle of the topic of the tzimtzum, the contraction. We explained last class in depth the levels of the tzimtzum, the dimensions from the Arizal's Chiddush of what the tzimtzum is, explaining the tzimtzum in a non-literal way, like we explained all the opinions of the tzimtzum. And let's go straight to the point. The Baal Shem Tov explains that the tzimtzum was a non-literal tzimtzum, and only in the light, which means practically that God didn't actually remove his essence in order to create the world. He concealed his light to such a degree to make it seem as if he's not present. But really, God is everywhere. There's nothing else but Hashem. Everything is a spark, a divine ray of God. Maybe through a lot of contractions, which is why there are existences in this world that are seemingly other than God. Not just other than God, they may oppose God, like idol worshipping or things that are contradict Hashem and his will and his ratzon. How could such things exist? Because there's such a contraction of his light, a concealment, that now his ray has forgotten, so to speak, its source, and it feels like other or even opposing God himself. So therefore, there is such a thing as klipos, the other side, the sitra achash, it's called other, because it's other than feeling connected to source. It's feeling other than source. And that is because of the contraction. The original tzimtzum, the first main big tzimtzum, which is in a way of removal. And we said the removal is a removal, not a literal removal, a removal of the light of God. Now, what does it matter to us whether it's a literal removal or not? If it's a literal removal, then we would say that there's actually a place in the world where God isn't. God forbid. We would say that Hashem is not in that place. There's something actually other than God. And this would cause a problem in the simple unity of God, and the simple oneness and the presence, the infinite presence of God. There would be a place in the world where there's something other than Hashem. So the Baal Shem Tov's Chiddush is, and this is why this explains so much of the path of the Baal Shem Tov, because the Baal Shem Tov is all about Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. Everything in the world has an intention. Everything in the world has a purpose. Everything is connected. And therefore the service of God is always to be done with joy. And there's nothing else but Hashem. And the faith we have in Hashem and the simplicity we believe in God and all the terrors of the Baal Shem Tov is based on this foundation that the tzimtzum is love, kipshuta. It's not a literal tzimtzum because, yes, we don't see God in many ways. Yes, there's a void space, but it's not a literal void space. And even the void space is God himself. Even the tzimtzum, even the contraction, as explained in Tanya at length, even the contraction is God. Even the void is also Hashem. Because God is almighty, therefore He can reveal Himself just like He's able to conceal Himself. So the fact that we don't see God doesn't make it less God than God revealing Himself. It's the same essence in different appearances. And there's one appearance which is revelation, infinity, and one appearance which is finite, limited, contraction, and concealment. So once we understand this fundamental of emunah in the oneness of God, then we have a whole different relationship with God. The relationship is not based on, oh, God is there and I'm here, and we're very far away. No, God is here right now, within us, within every single thing in the world. Everything that exists is because the divine breath is enlivening that very thing, every single moment. God is present and everything has the presence of God. It's a matter of revelation and concealment. It's a matter of whether is God revealed in it or not. And our job in this world is to reveal, to unveil, to remove. The klipa literally means a shell. It's the shell, the covering, the concealment, to remove that shell and reveal the divine spark within that creation. That is the purpose of our lives. So based on that the tzimtzum is not a literal tzimtzum, let's now go back to the origin of our own, what we call hishtashilus, our own order of the evolution, the spiritual evolution of our souls. As we mentioned in the first class, that we are not just a product, we are the blueprint of this hishtashilus, and the whole entire hishtashilus exists within us. David, can you tell them? Thanks. Huh?
This is the Torah is the blueprint, so we're also the blueprint.
Right. So the Torah and us, we're one, and God. And so we have the whole ishtalshalus that exists above spiritually, there's the whole order of descent of the light from the Or and Sof, God's infinite light, which was, so to speak, removed, as we just mentioned. It was completely concealed, made a spiritual void, which is a womb, to give space to another. And then from that empty space came everything else. From that empty space came the lights of Hashem, the Sfirot, as we know, the 10 Sfirot, starting with the will of God, which is Adam Kadmain, the primordial man, which is the will. The ultimate Keter is the Adam Kadmon, which at that level of will, everything is there. And from there comes the world of Tohu, and then Tikkun. We also have the Akudim, Nikudim, Brudim, a lot of levels in Kabbalah, which we learned last year in depth, and maybe this year we'll also, God willing, go in more depth. But just for you to know the general picture, and then we could go into the pratim. So the general picture, there's the holy shtashlus, and then there's the main four worlds, which are the four worlds we spoke about in a few classes ago, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, the four spiritual worlds as they exist above and within. And so once we understand the whole general picture, the main place from which we can fully understand that is from us. Then once we understand the self, since we're made in the image of God, we can understand Hashem, so to speak, according to our ability. We can't fully grasp God. It's impossible because God is above logic, above limitation. But by going within us, from my flesh I see God, says the prophet, that from understanding even the flesh, the body of a human, especially the soul within the body, we're able to see Hashem. And the Alter Rebbe says specifically, because it's not just when you study yourself, you're also studying God. So when you go into your flesh, into your body, which is your soul, you're able to echze. Echze means to see. Mi besari echze leka. I can see God. Now, how can we see God? We can't see God. God is the spiritual, and he's even above being spiritual. God is infinite. It's above any realm or dimension. What do you mean to see God? The Alter Rebbe says, echze, to see, it's like it says in the Zohar, tachazi, come and see. The chazi is to see, but it's a higher vision. It's a higher vision. It's called the vision of the eye of the mind. The eye of the mind, we explained, is not just the understanding of the mind. It's not the logic of the mind. It's not the dreams. It's deeper than that. It's the da'as, which is the spiritual vision that has vision, that we could see Hashem. We could see things that are above. It's like when you talk to someone and they're so present to what you're saying, they say, I see what you're saying. Are they seeing what you're saying? No, they just connect with what you're saying so much, they resonate, that it's like they see it. Or sometimes you feel something so deep within that it's like you see it. It's like you mamish see it within. You see it. Although you don't see it physically. Because there's an eye and there's a vision in the mind. And that level is able to see things that transcend the physical vision. And so to go within the body, mi besari, from my flesh, I see God, means we're able to open up from seeing the body, opening up a higher spiritual vision to see God himself. And just a side note, mi besari, the word besari, from my flesh, is the same letters if you switch it to Rashbi. You switch the sin to a shin. Because really the idea of echze, of vision, of seeing, is in the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is the author and the source of Kabbalah of Zohar, who his whole goal is, come and see. Rabbi Shimon opens up the eye, the spiritual eye, to see the divine revelation. That's why in the whole Zohar, as opposed to the Gemara says, Tashma, come and listen, because Gemara is about Bina, it's about understanding, and Zohar is about vision. Tachazi, come and see. Come and see. And Rashbi opens up the eye to see the divine. So by going into the flesh, which also can mean going into the Basari, which is Rashbi, there's many other acronyms for these letters, by the way, we're not going to go into it right now, but there's many other acronyms, which hints to the Arizal, the Frierdiker, the Baal Shem Tov, many other acronyms, and the Baba Sali as well. All these acronyms we'll go through some other time, that it shows that these tzaddikim, their job is to open up the spiritual vision to see Hashem. Now that being said, from us we see God. From our flesh we see Hashem. So when we study the self and the characters of the self and the spirit within us and all the process, even from the way we're born until we're now developed into human beings, we're able to understand, have a glimpse of understanding in the way Hashem creates the world and the way Hashem reveals His light. Because understanding God's essence, we cannot. Just like we cannot define our essence. And this is where it all starts. It starts from the deepest essence within. That our essence cannot be defined. You cannot explain who you are deep inside. Who I am deep in my essence, it's deeper than my body, it's deeper than my will, it's deeper than my understanding, it's deeper than my name. It's the I, the ultimate I within, that is the essence that cannot be described. It's the pure essence of being. This is just like in a similar way, Hashem's essence, you cannot define. It's above definition. It's the essence of God himself, called Atmos. From this Atmos shines the light, called the Or Ein Sof, God's infinite light. That infinite light within us is that light that shines, that emanates from our essence. And from that light is where all definitions could come from. The definitions of our understanding, the definition of our emotions, the definition of our garments, of our character, of our name. It's called the light of the self. These are all just like a light is a ray of the luminary, the essence itself, like the rays of the sun reveal the light of the sun. So too, your Sfirot, Sfirot is also from the word sapir, which means to shine, to shine light. Because your 10 Sfirot reveal your light to the outside. It reveals your essence, the undescribable, one simple essence, into definitions. This is how we're able to think and speak. Like, where do thoughts come from? Where do letters of our thoughts emerge from? They come from what we call the nothingness, which is the essence. Words, the ability to speak, the ability to do, the ability to feel. Like, yeah, I feel and I understand, and we usually base ourselves based on the understanding and feeling within us, but where is that rooted from? Where is it coming from? If you meditate and go deeper within, you find there's a place that is pretty much nothing because it's everything. It's the source of everything, but we call it nothing because you can't point to what is it. You can't know what it is. It's the power of what? It's the power of nothing. It's the power of bittul. And from that state of essence and being emerges everything. And everything just comes out like a ray, like a light, like an energy that comes up in shapes of letters of thoughts, the ideas you think, the words you say, the ability to speak, and your voice, and your energy, and your vibration, and your life, essentially, it all comes from this essence. And before this essence expresses itself, it needs a sort of tzimtzum, of contraction, the original contraction. And just like Hashem makes a contraction of a void space to give space to the world, it also happens to us. And it happens to us, first of all, physically. We're born essentially, where are we born from? We start from the Father. The seed is rooted in the Father. And the seed, it starts, according to Chassidus, it starts in the brain of the Father. And as it comes down, it is planted in the mother. And we develop into a fetus, into a child in the womb. That womb is physically, in our personal life, the tzimtzum harishon, that void space. It's a spiritual womb where everything it's the space to give space to another created being to exist and to be born again. And just like God, He's planted His light in this void space, which is why according to the Arizal, it's like a circle. It's like a big circle, although it's not like that physically. There's no like a circle where the void space is. It represents this idea of a void space, but just like a womb, that's like a circle, a circle that contains now potential for life to now be born and exist and develop. So we start from the light of the Father's essence, into the void space of the womb of the mother. Then we develop as a self that's now developing physically and eventually mentally, intellectually, emotionally, until we go out of the womb and we're born. And when we're born, we start developing our world. And our world expresses itself in every single level, from the intellect to the emotions, to will and pleasure. And in general, we have 4 worlds within us, we said. The 4 worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzir, and Asiya exist within us. And in short, we explained in a few classes ago, but in short, these 4 worlds exist within us we'll start from the bottom up. Asiya is the world of action. The physical Asiya is the body. The body is our world of Asiya. Yetzira, we said, are the emotions. The world of formation, creativity, music. This is the emotional world, which is after the physical, we rise to the emotions, which is the closest thing to physicality. Our body is emotions. Our emotions are enclosed within the body, and they're one with the body. The body is the emotions. And we feel emotions throughout the whole body. And the whole body reacts based on the way we feel and based on the way we are, because emotions are mamish one with the body. Then above the world of Yitzira is the world of Bria, the world of creation, which is your brain, your intellect. The world of the intellect is the world of creation, because that is where creation starts to begin. You are your own self based on your understanding, based on your intellect. That your intellect makes you different than others. Of course, everything else makes you different. But what really makes you unique is the way you understand things and the way you perceive things and the way you grasp things. This is your world of Bria, which is your world of creation, where you individuate from others, and also the idea of why Bria is the brain, because Bria is when worlds start to individuate, as we said. That the world of Atzilus is the world of oneness, and the world of Bria is when now it starts to go out of source and is now the beginning of creation, which represents Bina, because the brain of Bina is taking a detail, a nikuda, and breaking it into pieces, into many, many, many levels, and deducting different things, understanding something from something else. It's making categories and subcategories within our understanding, that from one seed of idea, we can break it into pieces and understand the whole picture in depth, length, and width of each idea completely and thoroughly. That's the brain of Bina, which is why the world of Bria represents Bina. So in our Bria, which is the brain, this represents this idea of us individuating from Atzilus and now having an idea, having an understanding, an opinion, something that is other than everything else. And the higher world is the world of Atzilus. And the world of Atzilus within us is the sphere called Chokhmah. And we explained Chokhmah is not, as the world may understand, as understanding or even wisdom. Chokhmah in Hebrew means koach ma, the power of what? It's the power of what? Like, what is it? You see something, you're just like, what? What was that? Sometimes you have an idea, a flash that comes into your brain, like, what was that? What did I just understand? What did I just see in my mind? There's a vision, it's called the thunder, that could come into your mind, and you have some breakthrough within your mind, a revelation that transcends even understanding. It's a spiritual vision that is now drawn within us, which is a very, very deep level that a lot of people don't use, unfortunately, because we can get so much information. We could bring down so much ideas through the brain of Chachma, and we focus more on the Bina, which are the rational, the logic, the details. But details of what? The logic of what? Of this intuitive wisdom, which is literally called the flame above the brain, which is why we also wear a kippah, because this represents the presence above our head, which is the Shekhinah of Hashem. Chokhmah is the vessel that contains the Shekhinah of God. It contains the ray that is above understanding. It's connecting to the transcendence of the self. It's a level where it's the power of questioning. It's the power of asking questions. It's the power of going into the unknown. That is the power of Chokhmah, Koachmah. And that is our world of Atzilus, which is the world of oneness, the world of unity, the world where all the lights and the vessels are one. It's the seminal seed of our understanding of our deep soul, our deep essence, and over there it's all one. It's the world of oneness. That's Atzilus. And we have all these 4 worlds within us. And all this comes as a product of the original tzimtzum, the contraction of the void space, giving space for us to even exist. And without that space, we don't exist. Now there's also keser. We'll finish with that. Keser, sometimes we say keser is an atzilus, but usually keser is above atzilus. It's called Adam Kadmain, the primordial man. And in keser, we also have keser, which is the crown. Just like the crown is above the body, it's above the head, so to the spiritual crown of your soul is even greater than Chachma. It's the transcendence of your soul, the crown of your soul, which is also known as willpower. Now, if I ask you, where is will in your body? Where would you point to?
Your brain.
In your brain, okay. Where else? In your heart. Where else? In the center of your body. The willpower is in your hands when you want to move, when you want to walk. Will is everywhere. But you could want, whenever, if your hand wants, you don't have to think to do. Okay. Naturally, your will just extends. Extends everywhere. Which is why will is called a koach makif, a transcendent power. It's not, for example, although there is intelligence in the whole body, the seat of the intellect is in the brain. There's emotions in the whole body, but the seat of the emotions is in the heart. There is no seat for will in the body, it's everywhere. Now you may say the deepest will is in Chassidus called the pnimius halev. In the inner heart, that is where the pnimius haratzon is. The innermost will of a yid is in the inner heart. True. But that is basically saying that it's the essence of the self. But from that essence, will goes everywhere because it's a transcendent power. That is called the external keser. The external crown of the soul is willpower, which is external, which is a very, very powerful power of the soul. Nothing stands in the way of will. Will is the deepest power. When you want something, you achieve it. Because will is a transcendent power of keser, the makif of your neshama. Deeper than the external keser is the internal crown. What's the internal crown? It's known as tainug, pleasure. Now, the same question. Where is pleasure in your body? You could have pleasure in your brain when you understand something that you enjoy. You have pleasure in your brain. You could have pleasure in your heart. You have pleasure if someone gives you a foot massage. You have pleasure in your feet. Pleasure is everywhere. And now the question, what's deeper, pleasure or will? Or you may ask also a question, do you want something that gives you pleasure, or you have pleasure in what you want? Yeah. It's a nice philosophical question in Chassidus, and it goes back and forth. Do you want what gives you pleasure, or you have pleasure in what you want? Meaning, what's deeper, will or pleasure? And according to Chassidus, pleasure is deeper. Tainug. Because tainug is, you could want, and your want could make sense. There's a reason why you may want something, but pleasure, it's nothing you could understand. Well, tainug. And in the language of the spheres, it's called arich and atik. Arich is the external keser, which is will. Arich. Atik is like removed. It's one with source. It's the pleasure of Hashem. It's the deepest pleasure. It's the source. The reason why God has a will, which what is God's will? Torah, mitzvahs is the will of God, is because He has a tainug. Because there's a tainug to dwell in the lower worlds, to be one with us, to be in intimacy with us. He has a pleasure to be married with us. Therefore, He has a will in which we could become one with Him, which is through Torah mitzvahs we get married to God. What?
Yeah, first the pleasure doing He wants to be with us, like united.
Right. And that's what he said. Hashem has a taiva. A taiva is a pleasure, it's a tainug, to have a dwelling place for His essence in the lowest realm, which is in this world. We're able to meet God's essence, and we're able to reveal His essence in this world. So there's much more to say. We're going to continue in the next class, but this is the Emunah is definitely in Keser, 100% is in Keser, which is the transcend. It's above logic. Lemala mitam badas. Just like will is lemala mitam badas, and pleasure is also Emunah is there as well. Not sure. I know that Emunah is in Keser. It could be it's connected with the Pnimus HaKeser, because it's the ultimate tainug over there. Yeah. All right. So there's much more to be said over here, but the point for today's class is that the Ishtalshus above exists within, and by understanding the self, by understanding your body, by understanding your emotions, understanding your mind, by understanding the transcendence of your mind, which is the Chachma, which is the ability to ask questions and to surrender to what's above you, and as well the will, connecting with your willpower, connecting with your pleasure, you're able to understand the Ishtashlus above, the way the worlds exist and what made us originally. What is the cause that Hashem is creating us and creating this whole chain-like descent, this whole spiritual evolution of creating this world down to us, and the purpose being that us, as we are in this physical body, this physical world, in Asiya, we want to connect all the worlds together. We want that the body should reflect the emotions, which should reflect the intellect, which should reflect our will, which should reflect our tainug, our pleasure, which essentially should reflect our essence, which means in simple English, is that the purpose of creation is that our bodies should reflect our essence. World, we experience and we see Atzmus, God's very essence, what Mashiach is. What is Mashiach? That God's oneness is now revealed in a tangible world in this world. We're going to see God in the physical world. We're going to see how Hashem's essence is revealed and connected and one with the physical world, and especially the inanimate, which is the most physical thing that doesn't move. Over there, we're definitely going to see Atzmus, God's essence, and in that way be in a conscious relationship, conscious union with Atzmus in this world, which is the ultimate purpose with Mashiach. Take it from Yad. L'chaim.
Verbringen mit der Rebbe, Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Verbringen mit der Chevre, verbringen mit der Rebbe, Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Avade Yisro elevei oi reiso, Bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisro elevei oi reiso, Bekitsho berichi. Yisro elevei oi reiso, Bekitsho berichi chadi. Fabrik, fabrik, oh jederlich fabrik.